Blasko.
Yo, Joe.
What's going on, brother?
Well, life's good, man.
You're back in town again?
Back in town, heading back out on Monday. However, Monday is relaxation, mini vacation. So I go on a golf trip every year down to Miami Lakes with 40 dudes. It's a big group. We go down, we take over a golf course, we take over a hotel, we have a ball, we're gambling, we're betting, we're boozing. It's just a good trip. So that is Monday, and it's all week. So for 1 week, I don't have to deliver speeches. I don't have to worry about...
You have to get your drink on and worry about your short game.
Right. I may throw a speech on the tee or something, but on a putting green. But that is it. Yeah, I'm done traveling for a little while. Had a good week. I was with the client doing some executive coaching one-on-one, which is always nice. Different realm than the professional public speaking with a forum of people. It's more one-on-one, more intimate. It's kind of nice. I think it makes my mind work harder because when I do a keynote speech, let's say 60 minutes for 500 people, it's boom, pure motivation. Here it comes. No questions being asked. It's not that type of format. It's boom. You know, when I say take the driver's seat of life, they don't have to ask, what's that mean? They get it. In a one-on-one coaching situation, it's a different beast. You know what I mean? I only want to give them what they want or need. So if they want more on leadership or team building or personal development, organizational skills, time management, then I have to work in my mind, okay, this is what I have to work on with that. It's just, it's neat. It's very neat. So I like both. Nothing beats the keynote speech. Boom.
Yep.
But the one-on-one coaching, it's a different tone, if you will.
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
It's kind of neat. So I did that all week, which is good. So my brain's fried.
Yep.
Let's talk food.
Well, let me tell you first,
Okay.
on that, I did a 3-day detox of all the things that were, it's a food detox. I did a 72-hour fast.
I saw that. That's what I was going to ask you.
72-hour fast, no alcohol, right?
Okay.
Broke my internet usage where my go-to wasn't to go check to see the email, check to see text message. I broke away from that a little bit.
Okay.
And I feel like the second day my brain came to life. Like I started seeing new perspectives like I hadn't before because I removed a lot of those distractions and I was free to think a little bit. And I was, as much as I thought I was doing meditation and prayer the way that I should, like you set out that stage where there's nothing there and you get like, no, I was even in the moment I was being distracted.
Deeper with your thoughts.
Big time.
So I did see that, and that's what I was going to comment on. I thought it was 120. What was the 120?
I was going to go 120.
Okay, I saw that.
I was going to go 120. And when I do these fasts, if I can make it to the third day, I got like lots of the benefits. But if I start feeling bad, I bail out.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, it really is.
Why put yourself through that
Exactly.
misery?
I'm doing this for good things.
Okay.
And if my body's saying, Joe, it's time to get out of this, then I get out of it.
I like that.
Yep.
Some people aren't in that mindset where they're like, nah, I got to do it, I got to fit. And then they're miserable and they're whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like that it's a fast physical, but also mental.
For sure.
I dig that. Is there anything above and beyond what you normally do during that fast? What with regards to prayer, meditation, do you up it up, or is it just the same? It's just more meaningful.
I allow
because everything
myself
else
to
is...
get bored a little bit because you don't really have that in the day-to-day chops every day doing something, and then I don't really get the luxury of having a bored moment where I don't know what to do, and then so I got to wrap my brain around like when you get a moment where you have a free time and it's not on a schedule somewhere, what do you do with that moment? And I struggled with that for a couple of cycles. So I didn't plan what I was going to do. I wanted it to be 100% mysterious so that friction that I created by not having something, I wanted to pay attention to that a little bit. It was very, very much mindfulness.
I like it. Spontaneous.
Yeah, for
Kind
sure.
of like our show.
Yeah.
We have no clue what we're going to talk
Zero
about.
clue every time. Might be
Shit
obvious to
comes
some.
out. I mean, it's just how we are. All right, so you made a post one day with regards, and I liked it, generations. I want to talk about generations today, from baby boomers to Gen X to Z to Y to millennial to blah, blah, blah. I think the post was something about opening a door. Do you remember that?
I did. That was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was probably before your physical fast.
Yeah,
and
right.
Mental fast.
Old Joe said
Right,
that.
old Joe. I mean, yeah, I knew something was fasting because I was like, Joe's not posting
Right.
anything. There's not 50 different things popping up. This dude's in a coma. He's out of something's wrong. But now we know.
Yeah,
you were
right.
physically and mentally fasting.
Yep.
What do you think with the generation? They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the respect. They don't have. I mean, what? So the greatest generation was 1920 to 1900 to 1920. We call that the greatest generation, and I think partly is because a lot of those people fought in World War II, which was from September 1939 to September 45. So that was long war. But those people who were born in 1900 and 1920, by the time 31 rolled around, they were 18 years old, 19 years old. Those were the guys that were going to World War II and fighting. And they call it the generation, or the greatest generation. Then you have the baby boomers, I think are 45 to 65. Then you have the X. So I was born in 72.
76.
Okay, so X's are 80 to, I want to say, 2000 almost. And then you have the millennials who are 2000 to 2000 something. And then you have the Z. So my kids are Z. They were born in 2003, 2006, 2008. Of the generations, which do you think, I don't want to say was more respectful, but we can. Let's just say it. Who do you think was more respectful, and why? The why is, to me, the main thing. Is it the kids now aren't respectful because they weren't taught to be respectful, or is it just there's so much other shit going on that they don't have the capacity to think about this and this? So,
See, I think it's human nature. Like I pay attention to the cycles of civilizations,
Okay.
and this is not the first repetition of what we do. And I think what happens is, has it ever been that a generation didn't feel this way about the generation that came after them? Like somehow that they're breaking the rules, they're not doing things right, they're changing things up, because every generation invents what they like and what benefits them, and they ignore what the previous generation, because the generations don't like each other. They think they did it the wrong way. The baby boomers messed this up, and Gen Z messed this up, and the millennials are lazy.
so it's the blame game.
It is, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Now, I also have a Gen Z, and he's
Right.
14 years old,
Right.
asking a girl out for the first time.
Okay.
Right? And I'm picturing when I asked a girl out what that was like, right? Yep. In person or on the phone, right?
Wait, let
and
me do
here
it.
it was, tap, 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 send. Wait. Tap, 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 send. So he asked the girl out over Snapchat.
Okay.
Right?
Snapchat.
And so like after he sent it, he was like, she hasn't responded yet.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Okay.
And there's some anxiety
Right.
about this. And I was like, Ryan, I could have had this conversation over 7 times by now and
got the outcome and result that you either wanted or didn't want, but
exactly. So but it took him probably 20 times as long,
Okay.
like 4 or 5 exchanges about dates and where we're going to go, and let me make sure my schedule's clear and whatever. But it got it done. But I was thinking there was a lot of anxiety in all of that exchanges because of the time that it took for somebody to reply. Where I'm in your face and I ask a question and you take 5 minutes to respond to me, I'm like, is he crazy?
Right.
Like,
It's pretty much yes or no right then and there.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you would ask
but they would
someone out.
never think that making a face-to-face or a phone call is better than doing it passively over a message.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. That's what I think of sometimes. Is it they think this way's better, or they're afraid of this way? That's the thing.
That's
I
a
think
good
it's
question.
kind of a combination. I don't think they're so much afraid of this. I think all they know is this. So sometimes I beat up on my kids and say, just do it this way. But to me, that way was the way.
Exactly.
Now, this is the way. So I
Yep.
try to understand how they communicate with their friends and things via that Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. Did he get the date?
He did.
Did they go on it yet?
They're going on Sunday.
Woo!
Nailed it.
Who's taking them? I mean,
I'm taking him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a drop-off thing?
It's a drop. Well, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll stay close. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, listen.
I'm not a helicopter.
Right.
So
Good. Yeah. You got to clip those wings, let them fly.
That's right. But to your point, like, the reason we held doors open, because consideration was something that we enjoyed when we received it from other people. It was nice to be taken care of or shown consideration. And we were always taught golden rule is treat people how you want to
Right.
be treated. Next generation, they are a little bit more self-centered. They
Yes.
are looking to take care of themselves, because as that consideration goes down, you have less people kind of looking out for you. So you kind of look out for yourself. So that trajectory gets to be a little narcissistic and a little bit, what about me kind of thing.
Right. It's almost confusing if you open the door for someone who's younger and they're looking at you like, wow. I mean, I don't know if they perceive it as that was nice or what the hell is this guy doing? Creepy, right? Because they're not used to it. So I do think it is not so much that they don't want to do it. I think it's that they're programmed to not think that
Yeah,
way.
it's not
So
even
it doesn't make them bad people.
Exactly. It's not even occurring to them, and they're a little confused
Right.
what's even happening.
Now, if it does occur to them and they choose not to do it, then I think bad. you know.
Right.
It's Generation Z. Sometimes I call them, are you ready for this? You're going to love it. Zidiots.
Zidiots.
No, just kidding. Every generation. So millennials, I just checked. It's 81 to 2000.
Okay.
And then Z is 2000 to 2020. And then I don't know what the heck the next thing's going to be.
Beta.
Really?
I looked into it, yeah. And how aptly named.
Beta. Right.
Aptly named.
Holy moly.
But getting back to that cycle, like civilizations, like we always have, really good times, and then those good times we get apathetic about things, and then we get complacent about things, and then we create a dependency, and then we find ourselves enslaved, and then we don't like that, so we break out, and we get this new revival, and it just cycles through. And if you look at it from 10,000 feet away, you're like, why do we keep going through the idiocy of that cycle? But it's just part of our nature. We have to almost.
Yeah, I think no matter what generation you're from, baby boomer, millennial, Gen X like ourselves, or Z, or the new beta, be kind, be nice, be friendly, be humble. Those are things that those characteristics and qualities should span generations. And I think a lot of it's self-taught, and a lot of it's we've seen it before, so we want to replicate what the actions we've seen. Someone holds the door for you, kind of felt good, so the next time you have the opportunity, you want to hold the door for someone else because you remember how good it felt when someone did it for you.
Exactly.
But some generations aren't used to that, so therefore there's
so
a
now,
disconnect.
When, like you've ever opened the door and a bunch of that generation just goes through, doesn't thank you, doesn't acknowledge it, and whatever. So you didn't really affect them. You didn't get the feel that you did something nice for them. But then you have those that get then upset about it and get a little belligerent with the kids that obviously were oblivious that you did it for them in the first place. And then they got this older person that's now mocking them or being mean to them.
Praise or want some
thanks. Right.
Yeah, I think I told you this before. So my daughters and I, we always play the wave game, we call it. And we did it a lot during COVID because we were driving around a lot. This is when COVID first came out and no one can go anywhere, but you can drive places. So we'd pull into a plaza. We still do it. And the plaza we pulled into the most was the Target Plaza in Boardman because that was our go-to Starbucks. But as you pull in from 224, you're passing Bath & Body Works, you're passing Kohl's, you're passing all those. So the wave game is anytime someone was walking up to the curb or to the part of the road that the cars are going on, we'd stop and we'd let them go. I always do that no matter what. And we would used to count and tally how many people gave a quick wave like thanks or how many people just went right by. And it used to drive me nuts that people wouldn't give a simple wave. I always taught my kids, just give a wave. When my daughters and I are walking somewhere and someone stops for us, we give a triple wave. Boom, 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 boom. I just think it's a respect thing. But then I started to think, all right, don't beat up on those people so much because maybe something's going on. Maybe they just lost a relative or a parent.
Yeah.
And here I am being a dick thinking, you should wave to me, when in actuality, they weren't not waving because they didn't like me or didn't appreciate it. They just had something else going on. So I'm trying to separate that now. But sometimes I could tell when someone's walking by and they look at you and then they just keep walking, they don't give you that wave. It still irks me a little bit, but I also try to give a little compassion as to, and I think part of it's taught. So I know my daughters will always wave because they saw their father do it.
And maybe teach it to the generation that follows
and
that.
That's what I think is the most important. Someone asked me years ago, how do you raise your kids? I said, simple, fear and Robitussin.
Fear and Robitussin.
And when the Robitussin runs out, Benadryl. Nighty-night. See you in 3 days. No. But someone did ask me that question a long time ago, how do you raise your kids? And my response, Joe, was this, I just be me. They go, what? I go, I just be me. They go, what do you mean? I go, well, if they see their father help the 90-year-old lady across the street rake her leaves because she can't do it by herself, it gives them the green light in life to help others. If they see their father being a jerk-off to the cashier at the grocery store, it gives them the green light in life to be a jerk-off. So to me, leadership, parenting is monkey see, monkey do.
Absolutely.
The more people see you do good, the more it inspires them.
Great modeling. Love it.
Thank you.
All right, let me ask you about some crazy town stuff. You ready?
Yeah.
Dark matter.
Hold on, let me put my crazy hat on. Whoop.
Dark matter.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
Okay.
You ever heard of it?
Yes, but explain the concept in layman's terms real quick.
So dark matter is about 85% of the makeup of the universe.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And it's something that is really hard to see, detect, interact with because it's invisible.
Okay.
It doesn't interact with any kind of matter whatsoever. It passes through things like dark matter could just go right through your body, doesn't come in contact with it, doesn't mess with it, right? So it's really hard to detect. Scientists know that it exists because it has to exist. It's sort of like if you're measuring the negative about something that should be there but's not there, that's dark matter.
Okay.
And so around the country, they basically plant these instruments really deep underground, okay? Because, like nuclear and radiation and anything else doesn't penetrate deep down into the ground because of the rock layers and whatever. So there's really nothingness down there. Light doesn't get down there.
It's a void.
It's a void. But dark matter, since it doesn't interact with matter, it goes right through the earth, just straight through, right?
Okay.
And so their instruments are deep down in the air. So they've built we'll say 50 of these multi-million-dollar machines. And all of them, except for 2, have never detected any kind of dark matter, right? So millions of dollar instruments that are just basically sitting there.
Really?
And have never done anything.
How would it detect dark matter? The
So
2 that did.
If there are
What
any...
shows up?
So they're basically doing
blip?
it just like they do frequencies, where if they get an interruption or an interference, then it's got to be something that was able to pierce through granite. Then it has to be something like dark matter.
Okay.
And there's only 2 of these devices that have ever detected this dark matter. But now, because it can't be measured, it can't be seen, we're again measuring the negative to see if something's there. People like me speculate, what is this thing? Is dark matter a different part of a different universe? Is it part of those multiverses that we talk about, right? We can't interact with it because it goes right through us. Is it a ghost? Is it things that are working in a different dimension?
I think it's called seismic shift. Could it be an earthquake? Could it be any disruption or no? That would
no. It would have to be actually things like a photon would be measurable.
It would
have to go through.
It's not just a shift.
Right.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure I was clear.
Yeah, it's not a vibration. It's
right.
It's
it couldn't have been a blip or something.
Yeah.
It's literally something. We don't know what.
We don't know what it is.
Do we know where those 2 instruments were that recorded that?
I could look it up on a map, but it's I believe one was under a mining operation. It was already half dug, so they kept going a little deeper and put it under the layers of granite.
Is there a way to measure
what
it was that was perceived
no.
to be the dark matter?
No, they can just see that it interacted. They can see
but there's no way for us to figure out what it was.
Absolutely.
Where is there?
We're just at the point.
Can Joe figure it out?
I'm on it. I endlessly think about
something.
this kind of stuff. Absolutely.
So if it's there, it could be detected, I would think. Might be more
somewhat
difficult.
measured that it exists, but don't know what it is or what to do with it. We know it has to be there.
Dark matter. So there's matter. There's dark matter. Are there other matters? Does it even matter?
Does it matter? That is the real question.
But there's dark. Is there light matter, or are there different categorizations of matter for real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are
organic matter, inorganic? Yeah. There's
all those different things are considered.
They're affected by things we can measure, like gravity and radiation.
But dark matter is the only one that's 85% undetectable, unexplored.
It does not interact with anything that we have.
Doesn't, but we know it's there.
We do know it's there.
Crazy town. All right. What do you think about the folks? Okay, you made a post. Your boy had a birthday recently. I call him one of your idols, and I don't know if you idolized him, but Edison.
Yeah.
Right. Someone you appreciated, someone you admired. What conscious plane do you think those folks were on? Like the Edisons, the Einsteins, even the Musks now, and are they diving into realms? I mean, what even? I don't even understand how their mind would work to even put them in a situation to invent something.
Yeah, and we call them geniuses, and I don't think many people know what that actually means.
Okay, let's talk about that.
You go back, you look through the Industrial Revolution.
Two geniuses here, but
of course,
beyond
of course.
that.
But there's, whenever I post one of those happy birthday to somebody who's done something big, guess what the first thing that's people reply? They point out something that they may have done wrong. Like they may have been this, or they may have hurt somebody, or may have been greedy.
Right, just celebrate the victory. Stop looking.
But I look at the information in that.
Okay.
And I guess when you're a genius, people expect that you were a complete individual. Like all of you was a genius instead of one segment.
Oh, right.
So like Tesla, for instance,
Okay.
he had this mathematical mind that he was able to use it to invent things in his brain, and he had this great skill. But in every other way, he was incomplete. He married a pigeon. Did you know that? Did you physically had a relationship with a pigeon?
No.
He loved a pigeon like a man
I think
loves
I did
a
hear
woman.
that. Are you serious?
And he was OCD. He would walk around his building 3 times before he was allowed to enter.
He had to enter.
So he was broken in a ton of other ways. And Edison, same thing. He was a terrible person, like awful. So I go through history and I take people. If you could take the best slivers of every person, every genius, and assemble like a super genius where they were a complete individual and they were giving
in
and
different areas.
Exactly. But none of that has ever existed. Like I've never been able to find a complete person in that. Jesus maybe.
I was going to say 2,000 years. There was a dude named Jesus who walked through it. He was pretty cool, but I
think it's like, do you ever play the Nintendo game where that football game where you had a player and you can add like points and you can give them like strength, but then they would have no agility or the game. Well, you only had like 30 points to spend and you can make them really fast, but then they would be stupid as a rock.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I think that's almost like
right.
as a person where if you skew in one direction where you're really good at math, you're creating a deficiency somewhere down the line in who it is that you are. So when you choose to be a genius, you choose to be not well-rounded in some
Genius
other
just
aspect.
in that aspect.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think there are too many people, like you said, who are considered to be a genius in all realms.
Exactly.
Just like athletes. Boy, are they athletic. Yeah, but they're really good in football. They suck in baseball.
Exactly.
They're athletic, but let's say, yeah, that's interesting. I'm always fascinated by people like.
So would you be? Would you rather be a well-rounded person where you weren't genius in any department, but you were average or above average in all departments? Or would you rather take your average points and put them in one specific category and be really good at this thing, but really suck at something else?
Well-rounded.
Well-rounded?
I would choose well-rounded.
Okay.
I'd rather be good at most than superior at one.
Okay.
Which is kind of opposite of the preaching I gave my kids with regards to sports. So when they were young, my daughters did gymnastics, my son did soccer, my daughters did gymnastics, then they did dance, and I go, listen, let's pick one and become great at it opposed to being just okay at 3 or 4. Now, if you want to be okay at 3 or 4, fine. We'll just do the dance, we'll do the soccer, but it's tough to be a gymnast and a soccer player and a dancer. You just can't do it. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough of your own energy that gets dispersed from here to there. So it's kind of ironic that you asked that question because I always said, pick one thing and be great at opposed to being, but that's on a sport level. On a human being level, conscious, I'd rather be well-rounded. It would be nice to be superior in this, but then I would feel horrible that I'm inferior. Not even inferior, but just whatever.
Well, nature tries to reach homeostasis, so it's always going to want to pull you down to the average.
Right.
And if you have excellence over here, the pressures and frictions that come along with that normal people should be like, all right, let's tone this back a little bit. Getting too many criticism, or I'm, taking a chunk out of my credibility or my notoriety, and so like your exceptionalism has to like be good enough that wherever this is over here, that it backfills that.
It's okay. You're okay with it.
Yeah.
All right, based on the question you just asked me, what would you choose to be?
Exceptionalism all the way. Even if it breaks you in all other departments.
Get out of
here.
Oh,
okay. No.
All right. Nothing wrong with that.
Because I believe that there needs to be more people willing to change the world and change the status quo. And I don't think average people have the willingness or ability to do that. And I think if, the rest of us, when we see somebody like Edison or Tesla or Musk, and, we make concessions knowing that that's exactly what they did. They're spending their specialization points in a very thin, vein. And if they're a terrible father, if they're terrible with money, if they whatever, as long as they're not becoming a Hitler, right?
Right.
We can kind of make some accommodations so they can stay in that vein and make great things happen.
Right.
Like even like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was an
benefits
idiot.
from that.
He was an idiot as a person, and he made so many life-altering things. Even to this day, we feel his effects.
Right. All right, that's interesting. I think most people, I don't know what most people would choose. I like to have a poll. You know what I mean? Like I would say well-rounded. You would say superior to one. I'm just curious if we had 100 people, what they would choose. It's interesting.
You watch
phone in.
What's
Can we
that?
get phone line here?
Oh, we could. We should do a live one of these and do phone calls and do Q&A.
Let's do it.
You want to do that next week?
Yep. Let's try it. Next week I'm on my golf trip.
Big Bang Theory. You ever see that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Sheldon
Yeah.
is that highly specialized,
Right.
And
he
you
had
can
a
like
flag with he had a show with flags. Remember?
and making like taking an accounting of his deficiencies is pretty typical of what you'd expect from somebody who decides to go there and be good at mathematics and good at aerospace, good at the things that are of value to him, but then awkward and
That's
in other
a good
departments.
comparison. That's a good analogy. That's a good metaphor. You're right. Sheldon he didn't even realize when he was offending someone or hurting someone. They would have to bring it to his attention.
Yep.
And he did it unintentionally most of the time because he was so focused on being a genius over here that he would lose sight of just common, everyday, ordinary things that most people would be able to grasp. He just didn't. That's interesting.
And I think the generations, the previous topic, they're evolving into that where they're specializing in something that's different than you and I, and they're investing in that specialization.
And only razor focused on
absolutely
that, which actually could be good for society because if you have this person focused on this and this person focused, then next thing you know, you take all those individuals and those focuses and it does create something.
Yeah. So your teacher told you that, hey, we're going to teach you math by hand because you're not ever going to have you're not always going to have a calculator. And you look today like I got a calculator with me all the time, so I don't need that long math anymore. They were completely wrong. So they assumed that things were going to stay the same and you needed to be able to do long division by hand. So the next generation, we're like, hey, don't spend 9 hours a day on your computer, right? Maybe in 10 years from now, we're all going to be living in a simulation, and the people who got good at being on a computer all the time have an advantage about those who, only were in there half hour a day.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
See
how we came right around on that one again?
We came back. All right, let's talk about one more thing, and we'll wrap shop. It was a post you made, and again, I get some of my topic ideas from what comes out of your mind. But it was a good one.
Thank you for being kind there.
It made me think. Which is a great mind. It's a beautiful mind. Everyone is wrong. It doesn't matter who you are some of the time. Those who won't admit when they're wrong are the most dangerous people in society.
Yes.
I do agree we all have faults, and not being aware of the fault is different from being aware and not admitting it. There are some people who are just ignorant for whatever reason. They don't even know what fault they have. So I'm not saying give them a free pass. I'm just saying their cognitive mind can't even process the fact that they did wrong, like Sheldon.
Yep.
Then you have people who knowingly have done wrong, and just for whatever reason, they dig their feet in the ground and they will not admit when they're wrong. Do you admit when you're wrong?
I'm on the other side. So you have the people who are obstinate where they'll never admit wrong. And then there are people like me who I'm a data collector. So if you said, Joe, and you said something, made some kind of criticism of me, I would internalize it and I would dig to see what was right about what you said. And there's going to be an element that I'm going to be able to learn from if I do something wrong across the board. You could paralyze me, though. If you made a criticism, knowing that I would always take it serious and always go introspective about it, you could totally, take me down.
Deflate you and
Absolutely.
take you down. Yeah, I'm always a firm believer, and I always taught my kids this. If you do wrong, apologize. But a lot of times I see people apologize for something that they didn't necessarily do wrong. For example, let's say someone's breaking up with someone. All right, my daughter wants to break up with whatever. Okay, and they say, "I'm sorry, but what are you sorry? I mean, you didn't do anything wrong. If you didn't cheat on them, you didn't do anything wrong. You weren't rude. You weren't ignorant. You weren't mean. You find yourself apologizing for something that realistically now they think you did something wrong because you're saying I'm sorry. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want to hear a story?
Yeah.
So I was in Poland and I was pulling out on the road and the stoplight was above me, and it was red, and so I couldn't see it. I pulled out, and so I got a ticket for going through a red light.
A red light.
And so, I went into court, and the prosecutor sat me down in the office and said, "Hey, rather than going through the whole trial thing, just say that you went through the red light. We'll bring this down to a misdemeanor. No points on your license. All you got to say is that you did it." And I was like,
"Oh no, I already know your answer."
I said, "I can't.
Right.
I didn't do it, so I can't say that I did." And I took the points on my license and the elevated fine and pissed off a prosecutor and had to go through a trial only because I couldn't get in front of that judge and say something that I knew wasn't true.
I admire that. That takes not a higher level, but it takes a lot of gusto to be able to do that and live on your laurels and know what you did is right. So I'm all for if you do something wrong, apologize. Admit
Absolutely.
Admit when you're wrong, because the moment you try to, I mean, we're smart with regards to us, and I don't mean you and I mean just in society. You can tell when someone's bullshitting you.
For sure.
You can tell when someone's sincere. That's why I always tell people, if you're in a bad mood and you go to work and you're in a bad mood literally because your dog ate your favorite pair of shoes, I'm a firm believer that you should tell people, because if you don't, and let's say you and I are at the water cooler having a conversation, and I start thinking about Fido who ate my shoes, and my face goes like this, you're going to automatically perceive I'm pissed at you, and
no
realistically,
idea.
I have no anger with you at all. And then you're going to walk away, oh my God, Blasko's such a jerk. He's so mean. And here I had no idea that was coming across that way. So I always say, you should let your emotions not only come out, naturally, because they do, but verbally as well.
Absolutely.
Like if I have a bad flight and I come home from a trip, I tell my kids, oh my God, a horrible flight, I'm pissed off, I'm in a bad mood. That way, if I'm not talking to them a lot or I'm not whatever, they know why. It's not because they're going to think it was them that did something. It was just this over here.
What's
Folks,
coming up May 9th?
Oh my gosh, May 9th.
Do you have any idea?
Probably the biggest event to hit Youngstown. I'll say it. That's right. You can quote me on it. May 9th is a night of inspiration and motivation with Joe and Blasko. It is going to be a fun-filled evening. We want you to come downtown, go to dinner, hang out, pop over to Dior around 6:30. Sam Blasko will be playing the guitar from like 6:30 to 7-ish. Joe's going to hit the stage at 7. We're both going to hit the stage after. We're going to have intermission. Blasko's going to bring us home, hit the stage. It's going to be a beautiful night. Are you going to be there?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm telling you, every day I'm coming up with new ideas that I'm going to present.
Oh, boy.
And I bet you I've rewritten the first 5 minutes of this thing like 50 times. So you might be a
Wait,
completely...
you've already written something? I haven't even thought about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Night before?
When is the date? Okay, May 7th. I'll be writing some shit down. I mean, I already have an idea of what I want to.
So I'm really excited because I think that we could do a lot of good, get people like ramped up, ready to go, hit the streets, get stuff moving.
And if you just take one nugget
That's
from
it.
Joe, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not changing the universe. We're just there to have a good, fun night. So come out May 9th.
Dior Performing Arts Center. You can buy tickets from their box office.
Thanks.
All right.